Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to On Point. This episode is going to be brought to you by Jimmy Tarps, and I'm going to do that because Jimmy Tarps has offered a discount code to On Point listeners by using the code ONPOINT and then 10, all one word. On Point 10 is what it is, for a 10% discount if you go to www.jimmytarps.com and place your order and then enter the discount code on there. He offered that to our listeners because he's been on the show a couple times, appreciates the support that our listeners have given him, and just wants to kind of give back. So super, super cool guy, great family. And episode 63, if you haven't listened to it, be sure to check it out and listen to a guy with a lot of backcountry experience, and especially on the food prep. I'll be definitely trying some of their recipes this year, but great guy, great episode. And On Point 10 is the discount for 10% off Jimmy Tarps. And just be sure to go use that and save yourself some money. Now, this episode is with Cory Miller. Cory is a guy that's been in the industry for a long time, owning XXX Archery and now working for PSE as a sales rep. And his knowledge is really unparalleled by so many folks in the industry. He has such a good insight, such good knowledge, and is an extremely humble guy. And so we don't just stick with bows. We go into answering some of the questions I've got from listeners and people on Instagram about stabilizers. What's the difference between a budget bow and a Pro Series bow? And then we also dig into the PSE line that just doesn't get enough love. They really do have a great product, and Cory does a great job of really educating and putting that product out there. So with no further ado, there's a lot of information on this one. Cory Miller. All right. So I say this all the time on the podcast. I'm excited about this episode, but I was just talking to those guys over there, and literally, I'm not kissing your ass. I've been waiting to get you on the show since I recorded my first episode. And it all stems from when you were back on the Gritty podcast, and you're going over arrows. But you're not just going over arrows; you're going over the manufacturing of arrows and like how they decide the straightness, and then you're going over all this other in-depth stuff. Mm-hmm. And since then, man, and a couple other podcasts, I've just been dying to have you on my show. So
thank you
for coming on to the show. So I'll let you do your own intro. Just tell the audience who I finally got on the show, and we'll hit this thing off.
It's Cory Miller with XXX Archery, and now I just started a new adventure. I'm a regional sales manager for PSE Archery. Mm-hmm. So I cover the northwest of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana as a sales representative for PSE. As of right now, I still have the shop. I kind of pop in there once a week, sometimes twice a week. And other than that, then I'm on the road now in all the other archery shops out here. So it's kind of nice now that I can help them, better their shops, or just answer questions, and that's kind of been a dream. It's been a goal of mine for quite a few years, and so it finally came true, and I'm excited. So I've been doing it for about a month and a half now. Yeah,
and so when you talk about PSE, you and I worked together on getting some reviews done on YouTube, and when the news got out that you went to PSE, I'm like, that totally makes sense. That's like the right guy for the job, because you're the only guy that I've ever been reached out to do a review, because you felt that the PSEs weren't just getting the love. There was nobody doing really reviews of them, and to PSE's defense, they come out with a heck of a bow, and I would say starting with the Evolve Cam, that really turned me back on to PSE.
Yeah, when we came out with the Evolve Cam, sales just really started to go upward,
really?
And every year since then, at least in my shop, and I think most of the shops around the country, that the sales has just been going up, and up. So it's just been such a easy cam to shoot, easy cam to tune. We're getting great speeds. You've got customization of let off from anywhere from 65% to 90% in that Evolve Cam, and so it just draws like butter, and we're getting great speeds.
Right. With the reviews that I've done, on the carbon bows, anyways, the handle was always my hang up and stuff like that. But outside of that, they probably outperformed or right up there with the top of all the other bows. Like, it just was not. I'm a sucker for like the grip handles. They've always had my favorite one. The Hoyt with the halon was kind of like on the borderline of I didn't like it. But with the PSCs, where I'm getting with that is everything else for me was right. It was there.
Yeah.
Everything I wanted.
Yeah, the grip, it's kind of one of those things where it's really high on somebody's priority, and other guys say, yeah, it is what it is, but the bow aims so well, and the bow is so light, and it's fast. I'm going to overlook the grip, and other people just, they just can't get past the grip quite yet. So, and that's great feedback that PSC needs, and we need to know that. And so when we start building bows and talking to the engineers at the factory, what do we need? What are we hearing out there, in the field? And so all that feedback is good, and that's why, to see you doing reviews and doing honest reviews, don't hold back. If there's something that that you feel is not up to par or can be improved, definitely highlight that out just as much, because we need as much information to keep moving forward. If everybody just says it's perfect, well then how do you make perfect any better?
Right.
So there's always going to be room to grow, and so we're going to do our best to keep moving forward with that.
Well, I heard an analogy the other day from Brian at Day 6. We're talking about broadheads. And, he's like, what we're trying to do nowadays is we're trying to fit 10 gallons of value in a 5-gallon bucket. And he's like, you're going to have to choose what areas you're giving up and stuff like that. In your opinion, I mean, with where bows are at today, how much better can they get, and what can we do moving forward?
I keep saying it, and I've probably been saying it for the last 10 years, that I don't know if we can get them any better. But they seem to always slightly improve, whether or not it be in the draw cycle or the valleys, the let off, the back walls, the precision of getting better limb pockets, that we're not getting stuff moving around. Little improvements. And so some people don't notice it nearly as much. We started running 1/4-inch axles on a lot of our upper end models, and I think that's been a bigger improvement than what people think it is, as far as I think the bows have tuned out a lot easier. So things like that. And I think it's going to still probably come down to material we're building bows out of, because it's going to either be aluminum or carbon, and I think carbon we're just now starting the carbon part, and so I think we're going to probably see carbon become better and stronger in different ways.
It in the carbon game, I mean, with the RX3s and stuff like that, we're talking $600. We're talking 60% more for the bow versus the aluminum with their bows and stuff like that. Because a lot of the flagship bows are still $1,000 to $1,100. RX3s are $1,600 to $1,700. And I just, when I'm making a decision, when I bought my RX1 last year, is this, I want a carbon. That was it. That was the driving factor, me buying that bow. It was not 70% better, in my opinion, or 60% better. And I bring that 60% because that's the cost inflation over an aluminum bow.
Exactly.
And I guess where I'm going with that is are we going to see the benefits of carbon start to show the cost inflation here? Because it's just right now, it's kind of a status symbol. I mean, it's kind of like, look at me, look what I got.
Yeah, yes and no. And I think, when customers will come in and to buy a bow, I always do an investigation. Like, let's lay out what's most important to you. And is it weight? Is it axle? Is it brace height? Is it cost? Is it speed? Is it valley? List those 1, 2, and 3. And I think PSE has a huge catalog of bows that will fit, and we'll be able to find a bow that fits that guy's priorities. So it all depends, and it's a little bit tough with the Hoyt one. There's not a weight difference value to ratio of cost, where the PSE, we're a pound lighter, which you definitely feel that pound lighter, and our upcharge is I think $300-400. So it's a little bit less, and I think we're really, really light on the physical weight. So I think we're getting a little bit better value out of it. But there's always some give and take with that, and so like you were saying, like the grip. So if the grip is very important to you, then the value of maybe our bow doesn't fit your category.
Okay.
You know, so maybe you're going to have to give up and maybe shoot a lighter aluminum bow that has a different grip that fits you.
Right.
You know, so as long as people stay true to what's their most important thing, then it doesn't become a status symbol. But when people don't have a plan when they're buying a bow and why they're buying a bow, then sometimes it does come into status.
Right. Well, for me, it was like I've never had a carbon bow, and I've always heard how nice they are in cold weather. I had some plans to hunt some late season stuff, and I'm like, it looks cool. It looks really cool. I'm like, I just want to try it, and I could shoot it good enough. Not as good as my Synergy that I had or the Halon 6 that I had, but you know, I tried it so I could have also my own testimonial about it, and I know that. My statement that it's a status symbol, you know, for me, for a lot of folks, I feel like it is, and I know that's a strong statement that'll probably piss some people off. But, you know, for me, I was less accurate with that bow, and at the end of the day, accuracy is everything. If I shoot this BTX 31 better than I did my $1,600 bow.
Yeah.
And you know, I think this complements me better as a shooter. If I was shooting the regular RX1, I probably wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
It's because I was shooting the turbo.
And the good thing with you is, I mean, you're truly looking at the performance and saying, you know, how well does the bow hold? You know, what are my groups like? How easy was this bow to tune? You know, those are important things versus a guy who says, well, man, I killed a big bull with this thing. Well, I've killed my big bull with a 599 bow. So it just happened to be that guy walked in when I had that bow.
Yes.
So, you know, I think, you know, I've hunted with a carbon for 3 years. Absolutely loved every one of them. And so I shot our first one when we had more of a tech riser to it. Really enjoyed that bow. I loved the grip in that bow. We were still running the hybrid cam system on that, and then we went to the 34. We started running the Evolve cam, and I like 33, 34-inch axle bow, so I really enjoyed that bow. And then we came out with the Stealth, and I hunted with that last year, enjoyed it, and definitely it is warm and it is light. Idaho backcountry, and we get snow and we get you know,
that's where I was doing.
And it was like, this is nice.
Yeah.
This year I might regret it, but I'm going to go ahead and shoot an aluminum bow this year, just to kind of change it up. I don't think I've ever shot a bow 31 inches hunting, so I want to shoot it. So far I've been on a Texas hunt with it and really enjoyed it and shot real well.
Perfect. We got pellets.
Good.
We ran out of Traeger pellets for guys that are wondering what the hell I'm talking about.
I can eat.
Yeah. If you want to fire that up, Mike. So you said with improvements to the carbon and stuff, and I want to know, because it really kind of confused me when Prime hit the market with an 82X riser. Main reason why is this a regular, or are they just selling a standard aluminum? And what I want to know is with aluminum, if an 82X is better than a regular aluminum that we're using for risers, why isn't everybody using it? Like, what's
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm pretty sure now, and if you look at the way they're constructing the riser, where everybody else is now building risers, we're putting in more bridges, making the riser fatter, you know, and then, you know, having material taken away and strengthening it up that way. And so Prime's really not adding much more material, and they're still maybe keeping the rigid riser. And as you get into rigid risers, stronger platforms, unfortunately the average guy is not going to notice that technical stuff. It is very minute. Target guys will understand that. They'll see it. A lot of guys, when they shoot in their backyard and they shoot, you know, we shoot really well because we're not under stress and having a good time. Then when you get under stress, that's where a target guy is going to actually realize that this bow is starting to get loose on me. I make a slight mistake in my shot, and my misses are bigger. And so that's where the term forgiveness comes into play, and this bow's not as forgiving. When I get under stress, the riser becomes weak, and it shows it in the groups.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before, and I'd love to hear you even elaborate even more on that aspect of as far as describe weak and stuff like that with the riser.
If you've ever put a bow in a press,
Mm-hmm.
you can press the bow and you watch the riser flex.
Yes. Yep.
So almost all the risers will flex, but when you do have maybe a little bit more flex into a riser, when you become not making perfect, clean shots, the groups open up. And it's kind of the same thing with high let-off. High let-off is very nice to shoot and fun to shoot. And without being under stress, I can shoot that bow very, very accurately. But the minute I get under tension, a little under stress, and either it be a thumb pressure, into the riser, bow arm getting a little stiff, my mistakes are magnified with high let-off or weaker risers. And so I try to find that happy balance of where, because when it comes to hunting, it's usually a one-shot opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a little bit different. Some people totally just wig out. Other people, it's just like another day at the office. They pull back, put the pin on there, and shoot them.
Right.
I'm not going to notice anything.
Right.
I'm not one of those guys. I wish I could. I shoot tournaments all the time, and it's like put a heartbeat on it, and man, I don't know why I get excited.
Really.
I'm getting better. I don't get as excited until the arrow hits it, and then it's like
same here.
Then it's a combination of nervous excitement, because if that thing does not crash or fall down within 5-10 seconds, I'm extremely nervous, because when it happens right, it is over, and it's over quick.
Yeah.
And otherwise,
I'm that same way.
I've shot enough of them that I've been on the roller coasters way too many times, and so if it doesn't happen, I'm like almost depressed. Like this is going to be a roller coaster of emotion.
I'm like that with bears.
Bears?
Bear hunting, man. It's just those things. I mean, if they're still moving, they're still lead flying.
Yeah, I've never bear hunted. There's
really?
a lot of hunting I've never done. Owning a shop really cuts into a lot of spring bears. Spring is really in the archery industry. It's a busy time. This time of year is kind of a slow time. A lot of activities going on.
Yeah.
Guys are already now they're hunting. They've got graduations. They got family vacations. They're doing yard work. There's all these other distractions, and they're occupied doing that. And then you'll get a little bump with the tag results, and then the oh crap,
2 weeks.
Archery, man, it snuck up on me again.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want to get into the risers again, and then kind of this will segue into another part is with a cast riser versus an aluminum riser. You see the budget bows with aluminum or with cast risers, and I would like to know, and from your experience, why are they? I mean, it's probably cheaper to manufacture a cast riser, but what are the benefits between bumping up to an aluminum versus a cast, and why are they? Kind of break that down.
It kind of goes back into that whole consistency, accuracy thing. Unfortunately, there's a handful of archers that really honestly aren't ever going to notice the difference, and that's honestly, it's a good thing. I mean, you don't have to. Like I said, I've killed my biggest bull with a 5.99 bow. That bow shot lights out. What was I really wanting to go and try to shoot a tournament with that bow? Probably not. But as hunting bows go, we can way overthink a lot of this stuff. And, especially PSC, I think we make some of the best, if not the best, mid-price pointed bows.
Right.
I mean, you are getting a heck of a bow for that $4.99, $5.99 price point. Is just an amazing piece of equipment. So it's so minute. I honestly couldn't. If we put them in machines, put them in a hooter shooter and shot them, you're not going to notice a difference with them.
Really?
It's not like that riser's just like moving around. Now, limb pocket stuff, that comes into a different play.
Yeah.
If you've got a sloppy limb pocket, it's not attached really precise, it can start moving. You can get play into there.
And I noticed on the cheaper ones, you have plastic limb pockets typically versus aluminum, and then
Yeah, you can say plastic. I can say polymer.
polymer.
Oh, yeah. Glock. I don't think Glock says that their guns are plastic. So
It's a good point.
I think there's different grades of plastics
Uh-huh.
or polymers, and so we figure out how you can cut cost and still maintain strength and keep everything extremely strong.
Well, that leads into what are some other things that you're giving up with a typical budget bow? Because these are common questions I've had since I've been doing the budget bow challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, what are you giving up? I'm like, well, you're losing the aluminum risers typically and stuff like that. But as far as like actual performance, a lot of times it's more hand shock, it's more this, it's more that.
Yeah, there's some benefits. You can sometimes get a lighter weight bow because we are running a polymer limb pocket, like the Drive XL. That bow comes in, I think, at 3.8 pounds.
That's right where I like to be.
And it's a 33-inch axle bow.
That's right where I like to be.
That is a dream, just to feel that bow.
Yeah.
Long, straight riser, points on target extremely well. Typically, though, as you get down in cost, sometimes you don't get as much speed. But like the bow you tested, the Bow Madness Unleashed, it's a bow shooting 340.
Yeah, 3B. Was it a 3?
3B cam, which is the same cam that we run on the drives. So, you're reaching, but your brace height gets down to 6 again. So on the drives, we'll give you a little bit more brace height, slow the bow down a bit.
Yeah.
But, you can still get 340. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are barely getting 340 out of a $1,000 bow.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
it's hard to say that you're really losing much on that, but typically it's going to be speed. But some of the positive is saving some money. You can put some good accessories, and I think accessories are just as important as, if not more important. It's like taking a Sendero rifle and putting a Tasco scope on there. And,
yes.
So you can take a budget type of bow and put a really nice arrow rest and a good sight and pick good arrows and become a good archer. And being the good archer is more important than any of it, in my opinion.
Well, you were a stage 4 coach, or what?
No,
your
I've
level
never
You never
been
done
certified.
Oh, really?
Nope. Never went through all that.
Oh, okay. I
Paperwork?
thought for some reason I thought you were a coach as well.
No.
So I guess with your experiences at the pro shop, what are the most common mistakes that people make when buying and purchasing a bow? Because I see that all the time. They buy expensive bow and then just put shit accessories on them.
That's sometimes because everybody has a budget. So if I spend all my budget in the bow, then I don't have any budget left for the accessories.
Right.
So it can hinder a little bit, but that's something that you can then slowly keep buying a better rest or a better sight or, better arrows the next year, and you're doing it in smaller chunks.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you can't buy success. I mean, there's so much stuff out there that is really, really good that outshoots majority of us. So I really strive on, if the guy is an average archer and I build him a set of $200 arrows and I put, this and that on there, is his group's going to get that much better? Because if you're not pointing at the target, not holding, and you're slapping the crap out of the release, I mean, that stuff's not going to fix any of that. And we did a prime example of that at the shop with Cody. We took a PSE Stinger, 299, 319 single cam, short little bow. We put a long stabilizer on it, put a single pin black gold sight on there, and he shot a Vegas round, shot a 300. He's a heck of an archer. He's basically a little machine, but to prove that bow will do it.
Yeah.
If you have a right archer. So
I feel like the bows
I kind of wanted to do that test
Yeah.
without truly offending, somebody and say, man, you really suck at archery here. I want you to shoot this high-end, really expensive bow just to show that you didn't get any better, and then take a really good archer and an untuned, just regular normal bow and watch him.
Right. I saw that, and that happened probably 6 or 8 months ago, I'm guessing, if I remember right. And I saw that, and I was like
so happy that somebody finally came out, because I've been kicking around my head, and I'm not a good enough archer to go out and shoot a 300 with that setup. Like, I couldn't do it. And the fact that somebody did it, I'm like, that, I don't know who that is, but that guy is a stud.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there's a handful of people that can do it with a target bow, setup.
Yeah.
Let alone, a $299 bow off the shelf.
Right.
So it really does come into the archer. So
oh, thank you.
I wish archery shops had more time, I guess, or we had more coaches. Especially out here in the Northwest, there's really not a coach. We have a lot of talented archers out here that have had no coaching, and so much of it is mental. And that's where I think a coach can help, and a coach can help break down. And a lot of people, I say, well, do you practice? And they say, well, yeah, I shoot all the time. I shoot about 100 arrows a day. And it's like, well, but are you truly practicing? Are you breaking your shot down? Are you, what are you working on today? What is the goal? Is it the release? Is it the aim? Is it my grip? I'm going to work on my grip today. Am I working on my anchor point, or am I just shooting arrows? Am I just practicing scoring arrows? So most people just shoot arrows, and they judge how the arrows went down range on how good they did today, and instead of breaking it into smaller pieces. And that's where coaches can help, get a structure. Say, we're going to work on this part. It's like every other sport. It's not just keep doing one thing.
The same thing.
You break it all down.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because when I go to the range, I'm one of the only guys there, not to toot my own horn, but I'm one of the only guys there that usually has an intent. Like, if you talk to a baseball player or a coach, and you're going to ask them, where are we going to practice on the day, and they're a baseball team, he's not going to say, we're going to practice baseball.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. So, like, on my YouTube channel, I'm practicing certain things, or I'm focusing on my shot process today. What part of my shot process? My release. I'm focusing on my breathing. There's all these things that I focus on and practice on. And then there's also some days where, I am just shooting for fun, right? But in order to get the finer details down, you have to practice the finer details. You just don't practice baseball.
Yeah. And that's the frustrating part, is it seems like there's a lot of people that are willing and want to, like, buy the best, newest thing, and they've researched it. I've listened to podcasts. I've watched this YouTube video. I've done all this stuff, and I've come up with this calculation. I want X amount of FOC, and I'm going to shoot this. But they haven't done any of the other important parts of saying, and I'm also going to dedicate 4 months of just really learning how to properly execute this release, or balance this bow out to where it holds and the bow reacts the same way on a shot. It's not about getting a bow perfectly balanced. Most guys will put stabilizers, target guys will put stabilizers on a bow to cause resistance. And people don't understand when you're talking about resistance. It gives me something to push against, something to, lift up on. And then when that bow fires, it's going to react that direction every time.
Interesting.
So if a bow is perfectly balanced and you can put it on your finger and then, ooh, look at it, that means I can make that bow move any direction while I'm aiming. There's nothing to try to slow it down from that. And so if I'm shooting comfortably, everything's good. And then I start getting a little pressure into that thumb, now the bow starts kicking out to the left. Or if I start getting a little bit heel, then the bottom of the cam starts lifting up. So if I have a ton of front weight and a ton of sidebar weight, I can't, manipulate my grip enough to change how that bow is going to kick on the shot.
Interesting.
So a lot of people judge bows on, oh man, this bow's the best bow because there's absolutely no vibration in it. It doesn't make it hold, and it doesn't make it react on the shot. So it can get really, really techie when you start going down that road. And like I said, a lot of people don't want to go down that because that's hard work to understand. It's easy to, not always easy to pay for things, but it's easier to, feel like I'm just going to buy this and I'm going to become better.
That's a good point. Well, I do get the question a lot is how do I choose a stabilizer? And my thing is
in my opinion, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, is it's user preference, and a lot of it depends on what bow you're shooting. And really just go test them out and see how you react with that stabilizer and see how you shoot. If it's increasing your accuracy, then yeah, it's probably a good stabilizer for you. Now, if it's not doing anything for you, you're still wandering around, your movement's pretty shaky, then it's probably not doing anything for you. So is there a general rule of thumb, or how would you help somebody choose a stabilizer?
Typically, if it's a brand new guy and he's really never shot a stabilizer and he's getting a new bow, I'll tell him not necessarily to buy a stabilizer right now.
Okay.
Go home, shoot the bow, get familiar with the bow, get familiar with the sight picture. But this is kind of goes into a different category of, if the guy's a drive-by shooter, he doesn't hold on dot and aim and execute shots, then it's hard for him to ever notice anything. So now all he's doing is adding weight to his bow. And he's still going to drive by and swing and punch the trigger. It's not going to stop any of that.
I wonder why. I had a buddy who doesn't shoot with a stab, and then when I told him, try it, it will make a difference.
And it didn't.
He's like, me. Didn't, yeah. I didn't really notice it. And that makes sense now.
So then if you've got a guy that does point and he puts the pin there and he holds the pin and he's starting to squeeze through and pull through the shot, that pin hums or that pin dips up and down or sways back and forth, makes big violent movements. You start taking notes and saying, what's this sight picture looking like? Now I come in and I put in a 12-inch bar or a 10-inch bar, and sight picture becomes a little softer. Well, let me add 2 more ounces of weight to that. Ooh, now she's floating. Really nice. I'm going to add 2 more ounces. Oops, now she's starting to dip.
Okay.
It's starting to get some. It holds, and then I get a big violent dip bangs or big movements out of it. Maybe I need to back that stabilizer off a little bit. So if the guy's not an aimer, it's
almost pointless.
Kind of, in a way. It becomes a good bow handle. To carry the bow
carry it over your
when
shoulder,
you're doing a lot of bow hiking.
I never thought about it like that, especially with the guys. And to be honest with you, I think that's. I don't want to throw everybody under the bus, but most people seem like they are flyby shooters, and because I throw that under the realm of target panic.
And it is, and if you're a hunter, there's typically not a lot wrong with it. You don't shoot enough to get full blown wigged out like I can't even do this anymore.
Yeah,
this is uncomfortable. It's not fun. It's painful, and I've been there. I had target panic so bad that I went to Redding, which is a safari dot. Everything's marked, and you got orange dots on animals. And I was so scared to actually be able to put my pin anywhere near the animal that I had to look at the animal, kind of gauge how far the armpit was to the dot, and add that much yardage. And I would put my pin in the armpit and squeeze the trigger.
Really?
I could not point at it.
And
I was so close to just giving up and just quitting. And I still have target panic, and I think everybody still, it's always there.
Right.
So for some people, that's why they don't shoot leagues, because it flares up and they don't like it. It's not fun.
No.
And that's why some people like shooting 3Ds, because it's a blank canvas. They kind of, it's about there, and they and they shoot.
Yeah.
And they have fun, and it's good.
That makes a lot of sense.
But where the target panic thing really starts getting is when the guys then are starting to try to aim and hold on target real well, and then they freak out and then they punch. That's when disaster. If they just accept that they're going to kind of drive by and swing away and punch, they do fine, But they're
I shot like that for years, and before John Raines, I'm sure you probably know who John is. And I was in there, and he recognized that Garrett shoots pretty good, but I was talking to him. I'm like, I want to get to the next level. And then he's like, the difference between me and you? And I say this all the time on the podcast. I'm like, no. He's like, how bad are your off days? I'm like 80 yards. I'm like, oh, like pretty bad, And he's like, yeah, mine are like that. He's like, my off days, I'll shoot like this on a good day, but my off days are like that. He's like, yours are so much bigger because you're flyby shooting. And that just opened up my whole philosophy on shooting now. It's like, so that just totally made sense.
Comes back to that whole other thing of my mistakes get magnified. And so when you have bad shooting form, those mistakes get magnified. When you have maybe a weak or too stiff of an arrow, the magnification of the misses get bigger because of the mistakes. Doesn't mean that they won't shoot and shoot really well, but instead of missing by a half inch, now you're missing by an inch or 2 inches. And as a target guy, that's huge. As an average archer, they're like, yeah, that's still inside the pie plate, which is fine. That's why I say so. A lot of guys aren't really going to notice some of the minute little.
That makes sense. That makes
changes.
a lot of sense. And I get that question so often. It's like, how much weight should I add? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there is, and I get the question all the time still about arrows. Like, well, hey, I'm going to, build me this perfect arrow. And it's like, it's not that simple. I mean, I can build you an arrow, and it's going to probably shoot unbelievable. But is it going to be the best? I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility, and you have to be able to be good enough to see the differences. And still, even to me, I mean, I know my guidelines on what I'm going to do, but I still test. What does this particular bow, what does this particular arrow, this particular broadhead want? Does it want 4 fletches? Does it want 3 fletches? Does it want more helical or less helical?
Yeah.
And I let the bow do its speaking for me, and
that makes a lot of sense. I want to go over another area that we touched on, but we didn't get into it in greater detail, and it's the budget bow thing. And you made a statement that you thought PSE had the market on the budget bows, and I totally agree with that. The problem with PSE for me is I don't have them anywhere near me. So guys, I get kind of hammered online on the YouTube channel because I don't shoot the PSEs, and guys are like, well, why don't you shoot the PSEs? I'm like, same thing with the primes. I don't have any near me, man. Same thing with the obsessions and all this stuff. But I honestly really do believe, and I totally agree with you, that they have the most performance and the most to offer between, especially under $1,000.
When you start really breaking it down and saying, what am I getting for this dollar value? I mean, there's nothing that can touch it. I mean, you're getting fit and finishes unbelievable. The draw cycles are great. The valleys are great. The speeds that we get, there's not a bad thing wrong with them.
Right.
As far as nobody near you, hopefully I can fix that now that that's my job.
Yeah.
So, I need to work on some of your local shops and get the bows in there.
Well, the Brute, do you guys still come out with the Brute?
No.
Okay. That was one that my buddy bought. This was his first bow, and that one had a lot of hand shock. I'm like, it's not a bad bow. It's got a lot of hand shock, but we can fix that with stabs and stuff. And I'm like, but, everything else is there, but it does have a lot of hand shock and stuff. And so outside of that, I mean, you're going to have to be nicer on your critiques with the budget bow. I mean, you're losing quality, and you're losing a little bit of here and there. Shootability probably a little bit.
Yep.
And so, I'm not as near critical on my budget bow reviews as I am, say, a $1,700 Hoyt. And I feel like if a guy really wanted to save some money, he could have a killer bow with good accessories, great accessories.
Well, and the thing on like kind of going back to that hand shock, doesn't make the bow bad.
No. It's my preference.
And not saying this bad about you, but
go ahead.
A lot of people who judge bows off of hand shock, they don't understand what else am I supposed to be judging off of.
Yeah.
Did you go, this bow points? Extremely easy. It just holds on target. And then it goes, donk, okay? But, man, I am just pounding arrows together. So what's more important? Having no vibration in the handle?
Right.
And you're shooting a 4-inch group instead of a 2-inch group?
Right.
So
and for me, it's accurate. Like I said earlier, it's accuracy over everything. And
a lot of times, unfortunately, shops, they don't put a sight on the bow.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't put anything on. They say, here, draw this thing back and shoot it. And you're like, okay, well, this one's got some hand shock, and they shoot this one. This one doesn't have as much hand shock. I'm going to get this one. It's a better bow. And then they go home, they put a sight on it, and they put their stuff on there, and then they come back and they say, man, maybe I need a stabilizer. This pin is just, it wiggles.
Yeah.
And, if you put a sight on there before you purchased the bow, you might have seen that this design of the riser doesn't hold as well. And it can be the grip angle, it can be the grip location in the riser, it can be the deflex riser. I don't judge a bow off of spec anymore. And I think way too many people are guilty of that. They look at the specs and say, oh, this is a 7-inch brace sight bow, it's going to be more forgiving than this one at 6.5. It's not true. Prime, their CT5, isn't it like a 6?
It's a lot of them are right around 6 this year, just over.
And that bow points on target extremely well. And PSC's doing that same thing with our Evoke 35. We're starting to run really long, straight handles, and we're running short limbs. So we're bringing the string to the riser instead of reflexing a riser, bringing the riser to the string, keeping a long limb. So the more riser you have out in front of your hand, the more that bow is going to actually want to wiggle in your hand at full draw. So I don't really necessarily care about brace height. I'm more about riser shape. How's this handle? Is it slightly straight, or is it slightly deflexed, or is it really hard reflexed? There were some bows out there, I'm not going to name names, that had a huge 7-inch forgiving brace height, but when you put the bow against the wall, the limb pocket was 8 inches in front of the grip. And people bought into the brace height that this bow is going to be extremely forgiving. And they all noticed that the bow just wiggled back and forth in their hand. So we need to re-educate people on, same thing with short axles. Like, oh, I can't shoot a short bow.
I get that a lot. Guys are like, how do you shoot?
Other than string angles, when the whole short bows aren't as accurate. What we did in the old days, we had 16, 17, 18-inch limbs on a handle. And so we made they're 42, 43-inch bows. So let's make the bow 36. So all we did was we cut the riser down, and we left this big 17-inch, 18-inch limb on the bow. So we had no mass weight left, no riser. So the bow just would not hold; it would wiggle. So we all started saying, "Well, man, these short bows just don't aim." Well, now you look at a lot of these bows, it's 35-inch axle bow, and the riser's 33, 34 inches. You got a massive piece of aluminum there, which that bigger, longer riser, it takes more energy to move that bow top to bottom, make that bow wiggle back and forth. So we can shoot shorter bows because we're running longer handles other than our string angles. So there comes a point where a 28-inch axle bow is not going to work as well at a guy's certain draw lengths because of the string angle. But a 28-inch bow and a guy 28 and under draw lengths probably really going to shoot really well. But people keep thinking, and you can get overbowed. Like on target bows, I don't shoot enough to manhandle a 40-inch bow anymore. Because a 40-inch bow is bigger bow nowadays because we've got a big riser now. And I don't shoot enough to manhandle that bow anymore. So I'll shoot really good shots, but then my shot process starts breaking down in tournaments. And I'd break down faster. The older I get, I keep, all this stuff changes faster and faster as we get older. Same thing with a lot of stabilizer weights. They'll hold for a little bit, but once that shot starts to break down and that pin starts to wiggle, I can never get it back under control.
Oh, really?
So if I run a little bit lighter stabilizer, I'll get some muscle spasms where it's like, whoa, and then it will come back and it will sit again and boom, shot will break. So I've found for me that 36, 37, 38-inch bows, I shoot better than 40. And so same thing with the guy with the short draw length. He can outbow himself, and he's like, well, everybody says this 35's the craze. You got to have a 35-inch bow, and he's a 26.5, 27-inch draw length bow. He could just be overbowed, and so he may shoot a couple good shots out of it, but then shooting it throughout the day, his groups open up. He starts learning bad form, bad technique, and it's not the best thing for him.
So you went over a lot of stuff there. I want to unpack some of it real quick. So with going back to the brace height, I've never thought about the brace height in relation to the shape, actual angle, and the shape of the riser and the reflex. That's something that I'm gonna have to start looking into and
because it's all about how the bow points.
Right.
And like I say, so if we don't put sights on bows,
Right.
and guys just shoot bows, and then they look and say, well, this one's got a 7-inch and this one's got a 6-inch. I think I'm going to stick with this 7-inch brace sight. And they really don't know. They could both shoot exactly the same, but you're giving up roughly 10 feet because of that brace height. And if that 6-inch brace height holds and aims just as well as that 7-inch, it's going to shoot just as well. So don't be, I mean, a full throttle that we came out with. The cam was just aggressive. And so if you weren't a puller through your shot using back tension and pulling through that shot, that cam would eat a lot of guys' lunch. But that riser, 5.25-inch brace height bow, that bow flat out would pound. I could shoot Vegas 300s with that thing.
Really?
It would point, and it was extremely fast. But I also understood that the cam was so aggressive that I had to shoot really low poundage, but I could still shoot a heavier arrow and still shoot speeds. But unfortunately, a lot of guys get egotistical about I'm shooting elk and I need 70 pounds, and I bought speed bows so I could shoot 55 to 60 pounds. And
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd work easier on that. And
So I want to go into the shorter axle to axle thing as well. And you spoke a lot too about a lot of the stink around shorter ATA bows. I get a lot of questions on, because I used to shoot a Tree Stand Edition X-Force, just a super short bow.
Yeah. And it was a short riser, short bow.
Killed some stuff with it. Could shoot it, as far as I could. My abilities would. I mean, I shoot at 100, 120 yards. I could do that. But I always had guys saying that you can't shoot short ATA bows very far. Do you know where that would even come from?
Well, the problem with a short little bow like that is that the bow, going back to like that perfectly balanced bow, I can move it any direction. And so when you start running a short axle bow, it doesn't take much to move that top cam left and right.
Right. Okay.
It reacts faster. So there again, it's not the most forgiving bow. If you shot it all under control, that bow will just put them in the same hole all day long.
It's an efficient machine.
So it's when you get under stress or windy, it's going to react a little bit faster on the aim. So when instead of that bow floating, it's probably going to move a little quicker.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always wondered that. I'm like, well, is there something that prevents people accuracy-wise from doing that, or is that like an adjustment on the bow? Because I'm like, I've never had a problem shooting a short ATA bow long distance. Like that's why I still prefer the original Halon. I think that was a 31-inch axle-to-axle bow with a big cam, so the string angle was actually better than what you'd think. But that's actually a really common question I get a lot is long range on a short ATA.
Yeah. And the only other issue that can come into is going back into that string angle. A lot of times when they get string angle, the string actually comes further back into their face and to get that string to the tip of their nose. So now they've got the string past the corner of their mouth, and they actually have a lot of face contact on that string. Now you put 85, 90% let off on top of that.
Right.
It's kind of a disaster. It's going to get really, really finicky.
Well, for a long draw guy, it would make sense too.
Or we all have these big beards now. That's the craze. So now you're.
I'm not in that one.
You're not in that one.
This is actually not a shadow. It's a lifelong adventure here. So, like I have a friend who shoots I think it's the Verdicts, and he's got a long draw, and his peep is pretty damn close to his top cam.
Yep.
So I could see adjustments problems being there. But it's just a really weird question I get all the time.
And really, sometimes, with those really short bows, shooting extreme downhills, those guys will start losing the peep. Like, man, where'd that thing go? Because your form is changing, and you're like, where is that peep?
Yeah.
But they'll shoot. I took home, was it last year when we came out with our 28, and that was a fun bow to shoot. I was. So, because I brought it home, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a review on the bow. So I took it home, and I really put some arrows through it. And I was like, I kind of want to hunt with this thing. This is actually fun. It's maneuverable. Like, this is pretty cool. And I was just pounding arrows at 60 yards with it. And luckily, it was an all-black one. and a customer of mine came in and he wanted a bow for his ground blind on his elk hunt, and he bought it, so I didn't have to have that confusion anymore. Because I already had my carbon bow already set up, and I'm like, I felt so guilty about ditching this carbon that I've been shooting for the last 3-4 months and styled and ready to go elk hunting, and then go, I think I'm going to jump ship to shoot this 28. But luckily the guy bought it and I didn't have that.
Oh.
But it was a fun bow to shoot. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I've talked to some guys that they want that lighter, because after carrying around the Halon, my priorities shifted. I'm like, I want a lighter bow.
Yep.
So, but you can also go you can get blown around, and I think your arm's probably the worst sail, and especially if you have a bunch of jacket or something on.
Yep.
The wind on the shooter really does affect it, but having a little bit of a heavier bow does obviously hold better. Mm-hmm. I would like to go over some of your actual bows that you have coming out, or that have came out for the budget area, and then we can get into some of the pro line bows here too. So we talked about a few of them. Which is the budget bow that I shot? Was that the?
So you shot the Bow Madness Unleashed.
Unleashed,
which is a bow that we put. We have two versions. We have a mainline bow, which that mainline bow you will find at Sportsman's Warehouses, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops. Anybody and everybody would sell that bow and can sell that bow. And that's our top end bow that we do that with. And we'll have a couple other bows, a Ferocity and a Ramped, that are in that $499, $449. Really, really nice straight riser bows. Really short limbs. They're a fun little bow. And then we have what we call Pro Series bows, which only are available at pro shops. Typically, you're going to be a little bit higher end, a little bit faster bows, typically, but more of our upper end stuff. So you shot that bow, and the cam system on that is the same that we run on kind of the newest stuff that we just released at ATA was the Drive short draw and a Drive XL long draw. So now we have 3 models of a Drive. We have the short draw and the regular Drive. They are 29-inch axle bows. Out west, we tend to buy into this whole short bow thing. Doesn't shoot, blah blah blah. Everybody wants longer bows. So the middle one for me doesn't seem to move as much. But if the guy's at 26, 27, 28-inch draw length, that's the perfect bow. It's going to be a little bit faster of a bow. So we run the same handle on the short draw. We've made a mini 3B cam, and it goes from 22 inches to 25 and a half. 50-pound bow, and we can get it down to like 35 pounds on that 50-pound bow. So it will fit most kids and women to go out and legally hunt with that bow. And that bow is smoking fast. Really, really impressed with how that bow shoots, feels. And then the Pro Series bows, we can get it in the Kuiu camo, cool. Where our mainline bows, we don't do it in that. And then you go into a Drive XL, which has been, in my area, like the hottest bow.
Really?
It's a $549, $599 price point bow. Comes in Kuiu, Country, and Black Riser. It's a 33-inch axle, so it's like Western, bow hunter's dream. 33, it's 3.8 pounds, super light. And the biggest benefit that I find, and same thing with all these other dealers, is that it's a bow that goes out to 32 inches in draw length. Majority of bows go to 30, 30 and a half. There's not a lot, but there's a majority of $1,000 bows that will go up to 32. But just because a guy has a 32-inch draw length doesn't mean that he's in a $1,000 budget. So now we can get him into a mid-price pointed bow at 32 inches of draw length. And so that bow has just been hard to keep in the stores, honestly. It's just been selling.
I hear a lot of complaints with guys with long draws. It's just the selection.
Yeah, they don't have it. Yeah. It's almost as bad as being left-handed.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Well, the pro line bow that I shot was the Evoke.
The Evoke 31.
31.
And that's the bow that I'm going to hunt with.
I really like that bow.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I don't really I guess you could say two things. Either other people inflate their numbers or we underinflate our numbers. I say we're just accurate, we're fair. the hang tag, what it says it's going to shoot, we're usually within 2-3 feet of that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes on the plus, sometimes on the minus. But for the most part, I mean, that thing is on the money for its specs of what it's going to be doing. I love that bow. It's like I said, this is the first year I've shot that short of a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Bow holds extremely well. Draw cycle's great. We've got the ability to do 80, 85, 90.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really wanted to, you could do 65 to 75.
Which I think is a cool option. I wish more manufacturers would do the 75-pound option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 75% lot.
Yeah. I think meant
not
the
the 70 pound.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something,
That'd be cool.
I don't know if I brought it up yet or not, but I will, because I kind of agree. I think we would, like for me at my shop, 80-pound bows were custom ordered only. And majority of the people that, when I did buy 80-pound bows for them, they end up turning them down to about 76, 75 pounds. So if we did a 75-pound and a 65-pound, it would kind of fill that void.
Yeah.
For out west, the hardest bows that we seem to be able to sell are 60-pound bows because of the whole egotistical hunting elk. I've killed majority of my elk at 60 pounds, but people still feel like they need that more.
Yeah, it's really
so having
standard.
a 65-pound bow, sometimes guys are like, okay, well, it's probably going to max about 66, and then if they end up shooting it at 65 or 62, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered a ton, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It is a huge honor to be able to finally sit down and talk with you.
Thanks.
I've been wanting to meet you for a few years now.
Thank you.
So if you have any places or contact information or anywhere that people should go to check out your products, where would you send them?
You can get a hold of me through PSE. C Miller. My email on at PSE is cmiller psearchery.com or pse-archery.com. Facebook, just under Cory Miller. You can also get a hold of me through XXX Archery. It's kind of that. I'm a little bit. I don't do a whole lot of Instagram. I need to get better on Instagram. I'm getting old, so it's like I'm just kind of getting Facebook down, and now I got to try to figure something else out, and it's different, so I don't understand it, and it's probably honestly all the same.
Yeah,
it doesn't have as many videos and funny cat videos and weird things on it.
Instagram's probably the hottest one right now, but it's I don't know. I don't know. If none of them weren't necessary, I wouldn't be on any of them.
It's a necessary evil.
Yes.
There's definitely days where it's like, man, I wish I didn't. When I come home, I didn't have to.
Right.
But it is still nice. It's fun to between really, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, the amount of information that is out there for people to have is amazing on everything. Like I just bought a new truck, and I researched trucks and trucks and trucks, and my wife was probably sick and tired of watching YouTube videos on truck reviews. Same thing, I do a lot of like shoe reviews on watching, what shoes for running, and so it's pretty cool that somebody can get into the sport and really get a lot of information off of that stuff.
Yeah,
but
like
just
you.
Unfortunately, there's the other bad side of it where there's just jerks out there that
Well, there's that's just a person problem, and unfortunately. But I will leave it with this: is that you gave me some really good ideas for my reviews moving forward. Is start judging them more on the hold and stuff like that, and I really appreciate that because I haven't really judged them on there.
And that's the thing is you watch a lot of reviews, and that's one thing that
I kind of skipped over that.
People talk about is like, okay, the draw cycle is this, the back wall is this, and the vibration is this.
Yeah.
How does the bow hold?
Yeah. Mine is, I do test that, and you and I had a conversation about
sometimes,
the
unfortunately,
Evoke.
depends on the bow that you get to do the review. So some bows don't have adjustability. So draw length again plays into that aim, and that's another great thing with PSE is that we can easily adjust our draw lengths without a bow press. And so some guys, just because you shoot X draw length in this bow manufacturer, you might not shoot that draw length as good in another manufacturer. So being able to, well, we're going to start you out there, go home, watch the sight picture, shoot the bow, move it 2 weeks later, move it out a half an inch longer, see what it does. Move it a half inch shorter, see what it does. See how if the bow holds any better. I'll stretch mine out. I know 29 is as far as I can stretch. I can get to 29 and a half, I can shoot it, but the pin dances a lot.
Yeah.
And so 29 for hunting is where I'm at, 28 and a quarter, 28 and a half for a target. Because I usually will use a scope and I see more magnification, more movement.
Oh, I see.
And so at 29, it moves just too much for me.
That
But on
makes
a hunting
sense.
setup, it's doable. I can deal with it.
Right.
Because I don't have magnification. So if you ever shot a scope and then you start shooting a pin, you're like, this thing aims.
I'm so
because you don't see the movement anymore.
Yeah, it's like trying to shoot a rifle on 9 power.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to move more.
Yeah.
But, well, we could talk about a bunch of other things, and hopefully in the future you can come back on the show. But
yeah, and we'll be releasing some new bows. And then I'll definitely hook up with you, and we'll do some
Any
reviews.
ideas on dates?
Wheelsy launch October 1.
Okay.
It's perfect timing for elk hunting. I'll have sales meeting in September. It'll be great. It won't be bad. It's usually like the last week of September for us. So
man.
we'll do all our sales meetings, and we'll see all the new product, and we launch October 1. Our target stuff, we have been launching a lot earlier for the target guys. Right when the target season's ending, they can start kind of planning for the next year a little bit earlier.
Cool.
And I think we're going to actually launch 4th of July maybe.
Really?
So it'll be kind of cool for a target stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
All right, man. Well, yeah, I'll keep an eye out, and we'll work together on getting some reviews done. And appreciate you coming on the show, man.
All right, thanks.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. Again, this episode was brought to you by Jimmy Tarps, and I'm doing that because he is totally hooking our audience up with a 10% discount code by using OnPoint10. That is OnPoint10, all one word, and appreciate him doing that. You have to go on to www.jimmytarps.com to get that discount code active on there. And it's going to be active, I think, for a month is what we're going to do. And just really appreciate him doing that. Great people, great family, and a great product. So I'll be using it this year and totally believe in what he's got. So outside of that, thanks for helping me hit the review giveaway. I'm hoping to get that announced tomorrow. I might just pick somebody that left a review. That way somebody that left a review wins, because it wouldn't really be fun if somebody left a review and then wasn't even eligible, or was eligible, but then a bunch of people that didn't leave a review were eligible. So we're going to make it somebody that left a review. I'll draw the name off the review and then try to match the name to the person on Instagram or something like that. So we hit 112. Our goal was 100, and the winner will get a pack of the new Day 6 broadheads, which is really awesome. Thanks, Brian, for doing that. And that's it. That's the show. So appreciate everybody for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.